Footnotes from the Life Application Study Bible. Luke alone mentions the tears of the Jewish women while Jesus, now beaten, bloodied, shamed, and exhausted, was being led through the streets to his execution. Not everyone wanted Jesus to die. He had healed, helped, and held these women in high regard. In this moment, Jesus told them not to weep for him, but for themselves. He knew that in only about 40 years, Jerusalem and the temple would be destroyed by the Romans. Some feel this proverb means that if the innocent Jesus, the green tree, suffered at the hands of the Romans, what would happen to the guilty Jews, the dry tree? Even at this point, Jesus expressed his grief for the Jewish people. The place called the Skull, or Golgotha, was probably a hill outside Jerusalem along a main road. The Romans performed their executions publicly as examples to the people. When James and John had earlier asked Jesus for the places of honor next to him in his kingdom, he had told them that they had no idea what they were asking. Here, as Jesus was preparing to inaugurate his kingdom through his death, 2 dying criminals took the places on his right and his left. As Jesus had explained to his 2 position-conscious disciples, a person who wants to be close to Jesus must be prepared to suffer and die. The way to the kingdom is the way of the cross. Jesus asked the Father to forgive the people who were putting him to death, Jewish leaders, Roman politicians, and soldiers, bystanders. And God answered that prayer by opening up the way of salvation even to Jesus' murderers. Jesus was suffering the most horrible, painful death ever devised by sinful humans. And he looked at the people responsible for his suffering and prayed for their forgiveness. The Roman officer and soldiers who had witnessed many crucifixions and now saw this one said, "This man truly was the Son of God." Soon many priests would be converted to the Christian faith. Because we are all sinners, we all played a part in putting Jesus to death. The good news is that God is gracious. When we ask him, he will forgive us and give us new life through his Son. Roman soldiers customarily divided up the clothing of executed criminals among themselves. When they gambled for Jesus' clothes, they fulfilled the prophecy in Psalm chapter 22, verse 18. The sign was meant to be ironic. A king, stripped and executed in public view, had obviously lost his kingdom forever. But Jesus, who turns the world's wisdom upside down, was just coming into his kingdom. His death and resurrection would strike the death blow to Satan's rule and establish Jesus' eternal authority over the earth. Few people reading the sign that bleak afternoon understood its real meaning. But the sign was absolutely true. All was not lost. Jesus is King of the Jews, and of the Gentiles, and of the whole universe. As the second man was about to die, he turned to Jesus for forgiveness, and Jesus accepted him. This shows that our deeds don't save us. Our faith in Jesus Christ does. It is never too late to turn to God. Even in his misery, Jesus had mercy on this criminal who chose to believe in him. Our lives will be much more useful and fulfilling if we turn to God early, but even those who repent at the very last moment will be with God in paradise. The dying criminal had more faith than many of Jesus' followers. Although the disciples continued to love Jesus, their hopes for the kingdom were shattered. Most of them had gone into hiding. As one of his followers sadly said 2 days later, "We had hoped he was the Messiah who had come to rescue Israel." By contrast, the criminal looked at the man who was dying next to him and said, "Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom." By all appearances, the kingdom was finished. How awe-inspiring is the faith of this man, who alone saw beyond the present shame to the coming glory.